Good evening and welcome to the final round of Logistical Nightmare. Tom Cairns, your commentator. We are here for the final race. Round 6 takes us to the Autodromo Enzo Edino Ferrari in Emilia-Romagna, Imola in Italy. And the drivers just completing their last remaining laps of this practice session before qualifying gets underway. And as far as I know in regards to the timetable for qualifying, it should be 10 minutes of qualifying, followed by a 50-minute race, which will include a mandatory fuel pit stop. And whilst we have got a race on this evening, we've also got a title decider between 3 drivers in the running. Now, the first, who is the championship favourite, that is Jazz in the Ferrari on 404 points. In second in the championship is Dave in the white Bentley on 382. And McSundy, who is currently out on circuit, in the white Ferrari in third on 352. So, in terms of the permutations, it works out quite complicated actually, but I'll try and do the best I can whilst we are waiting for qualifying to begin. Now, considering we've done 8 races by the time this championship is over, but the lowest score for each driver gets dropped. So they take the driver's best 7 point scores instead of 8. So looking at the championship, if Jazz was to win the race, that would see him crowned champion. If Dave was to win the race, he would be crowned champion, even if Jazz was to finish second and the pair being tied on points. Dave will have won more races, so Dave will win the championship on countback. McSundy, who is the outside favourite, he has to win this race to stand any chance of the title, and he has to hope that Dave finishes 4th or lower, and for Jazz to finish 6th or lower for him to be crowned champion. So it's very much up against him, but anything is possible in the LNR. McSundy's just got to really put his foot down with the likes of Kuketso, who's competing for the first time since the opening round of the season at Monza 5 weeks ago. And we've also got Skites, who won last time out at Snetterton. We are in for quite an interesting showdown here at Imola. We've got 14 drivers in the lobby raring to go for qualifying. 10 minutes it will be, so not very long for these GT3 cars. As they all make their way out onto the racetrack. We've got a Jaguar that is on circuit, that is Skite. He's obviously not in the running for the championship, but he did win last time out and got what was a single point score. After the race at Snetterton, the drivers agreed to just have a single point score instead of the double points as initially planned, which has changed the situation in the championship quite drastically actually, but we've still got 3 drivers in the running for the title. So who is your money on for the championship and of course the race? It'll be a 50-minute event, and judging by the lap times for what we've seen in practice, it should be something like 30 laps, maybe even 29, but we'll see as the race goes on. I think some drivers may go for a lower fuel load for the first stint and then charge their way through during the second stint. It's going to be very, very interesting though. Very, very different to what we've seen in previous races where a lot of them have been sprints. Whereas here it's going to be more of an endurance one. So Skite is coming round. And he will start a flying lap now in the Jaguar. So we'll go on board for a lap with him and see how he gets on. So as he comes through the pit straight, and then he'll brake before he gets to Tamburello, down to second gear, 120 kilometers an hour, as it exits through there and through the last part of Tamburello. And then coming down on this small back straight, heading towards the Villeneuve chicane. It decelerates, 120 kilometers an hour again in second gear. And now we're heading towards the Tosa hairpin. Turns in early down to first gear, 75 kilometers an hour. And on the power, using all the curb, keep the car within the track limits. And now you go up the hill, and you brake for Piratella. And down to second gear through there, no problem. And now coming towards Aquaminerali, it's a double right-hander with a left kink that follows. Nicely done through there. It's one of the most satisfying corners of any racetrack, quite frankly. And then heading towards the Variante Alta, down to 90 kilometers an hour, first gear, and then on the power, revs high up before you upshift to second, then third, now fourth, and then up into, well, almost like going into fifth gear, but it breaks down to first gear for the first part of Rivazza. Nailed the second part because that's the last proper corner before you carry all the speed and momentum down the pit straight, past where the Variante Vassa used to be. So it's a long straight, the line is just where the marshal post is on the right hand side, and it's a 1:44.0 for Skites. But I can imagine that lap time is going to come down by the second. Just going second with 1:43.9, which is a tenth slower than what Danzi's posted, so just ahead of Skites, but behind the pole sitter Danzi. There's no points on offer for pole position. And Kiketso now going top with 1:42.7. It's a good lap time there from him. Pace now second in the Bentley with a 1:43.5. So Dancy down to third place. Fireblade is on a lap. Gary coming round. No lap time on the board yet for him. I think Matt Sunday posted an invalid lap time. That's why he's not shown a lap time at the moment on the board. Is he on a lap now? He is. I don't think the pace is what he's shown is anything so far like what he produced last time, so I have to hope that he can make it all up in the remainder of the lap. Number 57 is coming through, that's Fireblade. Is this going to be him starting a flying lap or completing one? It's completing one. It's gone 9th fastest, just ahead of Popcom. So, doing a relatively decent job at the present moment. So Sky is coming through. I'd imagine he's going to be on a better lap than what he had done last time. Gets the second part of Rivazza through better than he did so on the previous occasion. It takes the shortest route to the line possible. Heads over the line. Does he move up the order? The answer is yes, but only up to P2. We've seen more drivers coming through as Juz is in 5th place now. Not where he wants to be. This is Iris, who has shown some strong pace in practice on the lead up to qualifying. It's his first appearance this season in the Bentley. He's coming through now. Does he move up the order in previous time? He's gone up the order, 3rd now, 6 tenths away from pole position. So an excellent effort from him. Sunday in the Ferrari is coming through over the line now. What is this going to be for him? It's only 7th. Well, at least he's got a banker lap in. He's only probably got 2 more chances at it, maybe 3 if he's lucky enough. This is Armian who is coming over the line now. It's not particularly a quick lap that he's doing, I don't think. In fact, it's not even a lap at all. His lap time must have been invalidated during the course of that. This is Fireblade, who is away from the queue of cars, so at least he's got track position to himself. He's in another of the 3 of the Ferraris. I'm not sure he's finding enough time during the course of this lap. He's found 6 tenths from last time, so he's boosting himself further clear of Popcorn. So the number 13, which is Sky, who's through Rivazza. So he's in the Jaguar, is Sky coming through over the line. Is this going to be an improvement in lap time? Not on this occasion, unfortunately. Jazz does go fourth, though. 1:43.4 for him. Excellent stuff. As Iris goes, well, Iris is in fourth place. I think Dancy's gone second. So Dancy closing in on Kiketso, who still holds provisional pole position. Iris now goes provisional pole. 1:42.5 for him. That was an improvement by around about 0.8 of a second. So Iris on provisional pole here at Imola. Pace goes up to third. Dave only seventh at the moment. This is Dave coming over the line now. Is this going to be an improvement for him? Not quite so. McSunday does go ahead of him, and he's in front of Jazz crucially. But the victory is what McSunday needs to be going for later on. Ram has joined the lobby, so he'll be the 15th driver involved, but he's not going to have enough time to complete a lap. Armian and Gary have posted their first times of the session now. This is Fireblade in the Ferrari over the curb. It looks like he's on a quicker lap than last time. He's got another chance to go for it if he wants to. Dave is now in the pit, so 8th or lower is where he'll end up. Sky has done his laps. 5th or lower is where he will end up. I think Fireblade improved by a 10th on that lap, but not moving up the order. So, here is Jazz, the championship favourite. P7 at the moment, 9/10 away from pole. Is he finding enough time on this lap? Yes, he is. Only going up to 5th place, so he's in front of Sky and McSunday. Now Kiketso will be looking to improve on this effort. Is he finding enough time? Let's have a look. As he crosses over the line, there's someone ahead of him there. Couldn't quite tell whether he's improved his lap time. Kiketso now goes back to provisional pole by a further 10.5 over Iris. So Kiketso inherits provisional pole. Pace, meanwhile, is on a lap. Does he improve? No, he doesn't. Stays where he is. Car 19 is coming through. That is Defiance. 4 seconds off the pace. Is he finding enough time on this lap? He's up to 11th now, nearly a couple of seconds faster than last time. So he moves up the order as a result of that. This is Armian who is coming through in the Aston Martin. He'll get over the line in time to do another lap. He improves and goes up to 13th with that. At the moment, Kiketso is not going to improve, so he's on provisional pole at the moment. Just looking to see who is coming through to complete lap times. Fireblade is ducking into the pits. This is Jazz who is coming around to complete his last effort. I'm not sure if he's finding enough time on this lap. Through Ravatsa now. I think Jazz is doing enough to keep himself in front of McSunday and Dave. But can he move up the order with this lap? Let's have a look. He can. 4th place goes Jazz. So Jazz onto the second row he goes. That is a really important lap time. Here's Ram coming through in the Aston Martin. Is he finding enough time to get a lap time in? Not quite so he'll start at the back. This is Pace. In fact, we'll go to McSunday because he's more important to look at in regards to the championship. So Pace closes in. McSunday up to 5th. So Dave drops down to 8th place on the grid. Defiant in the pits. This is Armian who will be the last driver to complete a flying lap. So Kiketso will start the race here at Imola on pole position with Iris alongside. It will be Pace next behind with Jazz 4th. McSunday up to 5th with his last effort. Dancy 6th, Sky 7th, and Dave down in 8th place. Ferris Sky's in 9th, Popcorn 10th, and we've got Defiant and Fireblade on row 6, followed by Armian and Gary. Unfortunately, we're not able to get back into the garage at the moment to watch the other drivers, but that's fine. We can wait until the race begins. So even with the drivers as they are in regards to the championship, Jazz will be crowned champion if the positions remain as they were at the finish. So you have joined us, we do welcome you. Get involved in the live chat if you so wish. Let me know how your day has been. Let me know how your week has been, even. We've had one person saying that he thinks Dave is going to be crowned champion this evening. And Kaketso will be hoping to convert his pole into the victory. And we had that rough time at Monza where I think he got clouded by Ram, who was staying out of the way of the other leaders but rejoined the circuit into the path of Kaketso, which raised a question mark in terms of driving standards. That was 5 weeks ago. And the drivers are off for their formation lap. We are ready for the start of this race. We'll do a formation lap and it will be a rolling start for the drivers as they get temperature into their brakes and tyres. There are 19 corners on this Imola racetrack that's played host to 29 Formula 1 World Championship Grand Prix events, the first one being in 1980 when it substituted for Monza as host of the Italian Grand Prix whilst remodifications were done to Monza. And because it worked out as a success, Italy was granted to be hosting 2 races on the calendar for Formula 1 from the next year. And because the national race was held at Monza, the name of the Grand Prix for Imola would be the San Marino Grand Prix from 1981 to 2006. And after that year, it was dropped from the Formula 1 calendar for the next 14 years before it returned in 2020 in response to the pandemic. It hosted races then and in 2021. And it's set to host the 4th race of the 2022 F1 season on April the 24th. It's lovely to be going back to Imola, to be honest with you. And bearing in mind the last 2 Formula 1 races at Imola have been held behind closed doors, so we are hopeful that we will see a capacity crowd at the event. The Tifosi out in force supporting their beloved Ferrari cars. So, just a reminder of the championship permutations. And bearing in mind that the driver's lowest score gets dropped after this one. Jazz, if he was to win the race, it's his title no matter where the others finish. If Dave was to win the race, he would be crowned champion, even if Jazz was to finish second. Thus, the 2 being tied on points, Dave would take the title on countback because he's won the most races between the 2. As for McSandy, he needs to win the race to have any chance at all and hope for Dave to finish 4th or lower and for Jazz to finish 6th or lower. If the positions were to remain as they are on the grid, Jazz will be crowned champion. But we've got 50 minutes to come here at Imola to decide the championship in the Logistical Nightmare. So we are raring to go at the start here. Once the green flag waves, the drivers can race. And we have gone green now, and the drivers are off. So Kiketso will leave, or he should be leading, but Iris has got in front of him. So Kiketso was a little bit slow away at the beginning, and the Bentley has got in front before they get to Tamburello. So Iris in front of Kiketso. Then we've got Jazz, who was in third place, but he's dropped to fourth behind Pace. So Jazz remains in fourth behind the Bentley. Then we've got Mitsandi in the other Ferrari in fifth. As the drivers come through the first sector, you can see the leaderboard updating itself. So there we go, there's your updated screen. So it's Iris ahead of Kiketso, Pace third, Jazz fourth, Dave fifth, Dancy is sixth, Mitsandi is seventh, followed by Popcorn, Skite is in ninth, followed by Farius, Fireblade, Armian, Defiant, Ram and Gary. So they've all got a mandatory pit stop which they have to take at some point during the race. In terms of when they decide to do that, well, it's down to them. It's a mandatory fuel stop, so fuel has to be added to the cars. So I would assume some are going to be on lighter fuel loads in comparison to others. Iris pulling away wide in the yellow curbs. As we watch Jazz, who is in front of Dave at the moment. So as it stands, Jazz will be crowned champion. If he was to finish fourth in this race, keeping the dropped point score rule in mind, he would get 36 points from this one, which would boost his championship total by 14 points. If Dave was to finish in fifth place as he is, he would collect only 30 points, and he would drop his score of 7 points he got in the first race of the season at Monza. So he'd improve his score by 23 points. It'll still be Jazz's cycle as it is. So lap one is done. Iris's lead is 1.2 seconds over Kiketso. Pace holding third, as Dave is under threat there from Dancy, who hasn't got anything to lose now. He can't win the championship. Fourth is already secure for him, so he can go at it with freedom. Sky has got ahead of Popcorn and Various. I think Sandy's fallen down the order. I don't know where he's made the mistake, but he's dropped down the order to 11th position. So Sandy's slim hopes of the championship have taken a bad dent. He's leaving himself with too much to do now, as Popcorn is about to get overtaken by Various coming into Piratella. Various on the inside, and he's through into 8th place. Nicely done. So Pace trying to keep up with Kiketso. Kiketso keeping up with Iris in front. And just looking at Gary at the moment, he's dropped back a long way to the rest of the field, leaving himself with too much to do already. Iris coming round to complete the second lap. 1.3 seconds was the gap in sector 2. The gap is still 1.3. Pace is closing in behind on the Aston Martin. Jazz in fourth, Dave fifth, followed by Dancy. There is Skite holding P7. Popcorn into the pits already. So Popcorn looking to get his mandatory pit stop out of the way after only 2 laps. He's just going to give himself track position. So Dave in 5th place. He needs to get in front of Jazz to have any hope in the championship. If he was to finish 4th and Jazz finishes 5th, it would not be enough, I don't think, for Dave to snatch the championship. Now 4th place would net you 36 points, as Dave's total would improve by 29 because of the drop point score rule. So he would be on 411. And Jazz, who would finish 5th and collect 30 points, would see his point score improved by only 8. And Jazz would take the championship by 1 point. So Jazz has got to keep... Well, Jazz ideally has got to keep Dave behind. So even if it's to fall behind Dave by 1 position, Jazz would still win the championship, but he cannot fall down any further than where he is. Jazz trying to keep his car on the circuit. He's got a little bit of a scrape on the front of his Ferrari, but nothing too detrimental. Okay, so lead ahead of Pace, Jazz in 4th ahead of Dave and Dancy. Sky, last week's winner in Snetterton, holding 7th position. Followed by various. Mitsunny in 9th place now because of Popcorn pitting. Unless he makes the greatest of comebacks, his championship chances are all but over now. Unless something dramatic happens to his championship rivals and to those ahead of him. He might actually be on a heavier fuel load, putting it into words. So that's something to keep an eye out on and bear in mind. Kiketso 1.6 seconds clear of Iris, 1.6 seconds ahead of Kiketso now. Pace 3rd, Dave still holding on to 4th and just under threat from Dancy. Now, Dave may be doing himself a favour here because if he can hold up Jazz, that could bring Dancy into the equation and pass the Ferrari. So I think there's going to be some mind games going on here. Jazz has got to make sure he reads it well, otherwise he's going to find himself overtaken by the Bentley. And I've seen that Dave has already overtaken him, so Dave has passed Jazz for 4th place now. As Dancy closes in behind the Ferrari. Does he go for it into Tamburillo? I doubt that he will. It's probably too quick of a corner to get an overtake done, but nevertheless, Jazz is in front still. So 7.5 minutes in, we've done 4 laps already. There's your race leader, Iris, ahead. With Kiketso in P2, there's Pace ahead of Dave. He'll be given chase now. If he can pass one more car, he'll be crowned champion unless Jazz makes a move. You know, the difference between finishing 4th and 5th is 6 points. Oh, Dave has caught the curb there. Nearly lose it. He has to run wide at Ackerman and Raleigh. I just hope he didn't exceed track limits there. That could get him into a little bit above later. But Dancy looks as though he's got past Jazz. He has. So Dancy is through ahead of the Ferrari, coming into Variante Alta, and that changes the situation in the championship. Because with Jazz now down in 6th place, where Dave is right now in 4th, that would be enough for him to be crowned champion today. So if you're Jazz, what do you do now? That's the next question. So Jazz down to 6th place. He needs to just keep his nose clean, hold his nerve, and just put Dancy under pressure. Dancy doesn't need to worry about the situation in the championship. He's just running his own race, and rightly so. Kiketso running in P2, 1.9 seconds behind Iris. I'm just looking further down the order. Well, Popcorn has already made his stop. He's 23 seconds behind Gary. He's putting in some good laps so far, so I would imagine he could make up a few positions at the pit stops if drivers ahead of him continue to battle amongst themselves. And Jazz is dropping back from Dancy now, and he's got Skype closing in on him. So it's not going well at the moment for Jazz. There's a long way to go yet, though. So Dave 5 seconds behind pace, but doing enough for the championship as it stands. And there's McSandy running in 9th, behind Various. He really needs to get a move on. So Dave in P4, looking very, very good, but he's got Danzy right behind him. Now, the thing is, if Danzy was to get in front of Dave, then that would put Jazz back into the lead of the championship again. So, for Jazz to leave Dancy to actually fight it out with Dave is not actually a bad idea. So Dave, at the moment, with the championship as it is, he would get 36 points from this race, but with his dropped points from Monza, the lowest score he got, he would only bag 29 points in this race. He would be on 411. Jazz, who's in 6th place, he would collect 26 points, and then his dropped points at Snetterton would be wiped out. So he would only collect 4 more points to his total. He'd be on 408. So as it stands, Dave would win the championship by 3 points. And a way for that to change is if Danzy gets in front of him. And what Jazz has got to be careful, because he's got Skype closing in behind. The gap at the front then, Iris 1.8 seconds clear of Kiketso. Pace trying to keep up there in 3rd place, over 4.5 seconds off the lead. And Dave, who's dropping back all the time, and look at that, Dancy's got a good run on him. As they come down the pit straight, he'll get into the slipstream and have a go into Tamburello. Here we go then, Dancy, pulling out to the right. Does he get past Dave into Tamburello? Not quite so there. Dave has to take a more compromised line through Tamburello. Stays in front for now, but Dancy will be back for more. This is vitally important in regards to the championship. Does he go for it into Tosa? Not on this occasion. We'll go on to the helicam as we watch these two fight it out. This is a very, very important battle. With 37 minutes to go, plenty of time for everything to change. Dancy thinking about a move. Doesn't quite go for it. Into Ackerman and Raleigh. Oh, Dancy had to run wide there and avoid those yellow curbs on the outside. I'll lose him a little bit of time, but not too much. Through the Variante Alta. And Jazz is just watching it all unfold ahead of him. And still no change at the moment between Dave and Dancy in the fight for 4th place on the road. As I've already mentioned, Dancy has already sealed 4th position in the championship overall. Kiketso's lead, Iris's lead over Kiketso's 1.2, pace 4.3 behind Kiketso, over 6 seconds, or over 5.5 off the lead. Oh, that's Jazz off the racetrack. That is Jazz in the Ferrari off the racetrack, and Skyter's got ahead of him. So a mistake into Tamarillo. Jazz has gone into the gravel trap and sees him fall behind Skype now. So as it stands, Jazz has got to get past 2 cars now to take the title. Unless Dancy and Skype can get past Dave. We're 15 minutes into this race now, as Dunsey runs wide again. He's got to be careful not to be exceeding track limits too often, otherwise a penalty would be dished out to him. So that was a very bad mistake there by Jazz into Tamburello, and there's no way he's going to catch Sky, Dunsey or Dave now, I don't think, unless he can make the best of his second stint or something. But it's not going his way at the moment. So Dunsey in 5th place. And Jazz falling back all the time at the moment. As he's got various Sky closing in on him, and Mitsundi, who has had a dreadful evening so far. Needed it to be one of his best qualifying sessions of the season, and instead it's been one of his worst. So Dunsey, as he comes into the Tosa hairpin, behind Dave. Not able to make a move, probably not taking too many risks for the time being. What I do know is that Ketsu's got the gap down to just under a second in the first sector, or second sector even. So the top 2 coming through. As Dave holds off Dancy for now. 4th is enough for Dave to be crowned champion. If he was to drop to 5th, now the difference between a 5th place finish and a 7th place finish, according to my maths, is 22 points for 7th. Just working it out at the moment. In the meantime, Dave is still ahead of Dancy, doing all he needs to do. The championship to be sealed this evening for himself. Snatch it from Jazz's nose. So Dave at the moment would be getting 36 points, Jazz would be collecting 22. Now, because of the scores that Jazz would be getting, he wouldn't add to his total of 404 points. Dave would do. So he would lose 7 points but have the 36 instead, which means a 29 point increase would see him move on to 411. If he was to drop back a position, that would see him drop 6 more points but still be ahead of Jazz by 1 point. As Gary comes into the pits in the Aston Martin for his mandatory pit stop. Now, what will the leaders decide to do? So it looks like Mitsundi's got in front of Various. So I wonder if Various made a mistake somewhere. Either way, Mitsundi's got in front of him now. So I think the saving grace for Jazz is that Mitsundi's around about 9 seconds behind him. So Jazz has got a comfortable margin over the Ferrari. Through Tamburello he comes. No change at the moment between Dave and Dancy. Although Dave has made a mistake. This could be Dancy's chance to go for the move. Round the outside into Tosa. He may not get through there, but he'll have the better line on the exit. Dave will have to go defensive as Dancy runs out onto the grass. Oh, that was the chance there for Dancy to make a move. Dave holds him off for now. That was quite a let-off there for Dave because he did run wide on the exit of the Villeneuve chicane, which compromises the line entering the Tosa hairpin. And the saving grace for him was that Dancy run wide on the exit of Tosa. So Dave's still in front for now. But Dancy will not give up as these two come out of Acqua Minerale and head in towards the Variante Alta now. No change between these two. And Jazz will be looking on. Dancy not quite going for it yet. He wants to do it soon. Oh, that's Dave making a mistake through Ravazza. Dancy not quite taking advantage, but he may get a run on him on the pit straight. Now, the inside line is ideally where he will want to be, but Dave will cover that off. So Dancy will have to make do going to the outside, get into the slipstream, pull out alongside, maybe dumming him a look. There we go, look. There's the dummy, but Dave preempted it. So Dave has managed to hold him off as they come into Tamburello. Still no change. Dave holds on. Jazz is in the pits. So Jazz getting his pit stop out of the way. And he'll want to get track position now. But he'll want to stay with this battle because Dancy still not able to make a move. Dave running wide again on the exit of the Villeneuve chicane. Dancy to the outside. Will Dave hold him off? Dancy will have to really gamble and do a switchback here. Oh, this contact! Dave and Dancy come together at Tosa! Dave drops back 2 positions as a result of it. Dave has thrown the chance of the championship all away. Is there damage to the rear suspension? Well, he's not moving by the looks of it. He is moving now. But he's lost time and places. It's advantage Jazz in the championship now. It was almost bound to happen at some point, and it happened there. Dave has lost so much time thanks to that. There'll be an elevation of frustration injected into him. No, he just needs to get back into a river now and not lose the plot, because in terms of the battle for the championship, it's not over yet. I don't know if Jazz is aware of this, but he has seen his championship rival go for a spin, and yet you can see Dave, the handling of the car does not look right at all. He has still got his mandatory pit stop to make, so if I was Dave, I think now may be the time to come into the pits, get the fuel put in, and get the car checked and repaired. I cannot believe that. I really cannot believe that. McSandy's passed him as well. He's in 6th place, but that won't be enough for him to be crowned champion tonight. Whatever happens. But Jazz, who's coming through Puritella, will be reaping the rewards of this now. He just needs to keep his car effectively on circuit, quite frankly. Now, Dave is in the pits, and it's no surprise to see him there now. And that has changed the situation in the championship dramatically. Unbelievable luck for him. As he watches them go by. Jazz will go by him, most certainly. So Jazz will go past the Bentley. Dave has already done his stop. He's coming out of the pits now, but Jazz will be in front of him most certainly. So Jazz in front of Dave, and more importantly, in front in the championship race. Dave isn't too far behind, so the battle for the championship isn't quite over yet. There's the top 2 in this race. Coming towards Tamburello. Iris in 1st. Kiketso in 2nd. Then it's Pace in 3rd. Dancy 4th on track. Following contact with Dave. And there's Sky in 5th position. And McSandy who is on his own in 6th place. And it looks like Ram is back in the pits. Well, I think that may be his first stop of the race, actually, so I'll take my word back there. And we're halfway into this one now, 25 minutes to go. As it stands, with Jazz 10th and Dave 11th, it's Jazz who will be crowned champion. Now, McSundy's running in 6th place, which would net him 26 championship points. Even that wouldn't be enough for him to improve his score. Dave would improve his score. Now, 11th place would net him 12 points. So Dave at the moment he would still improve his points table, but not enough to beat Jazz. So he's really got to get on with this now. Start putting in some good laps and closing in on his rival. Now as we watch various those already done his pit stop. Iris still holding off Kaketsu. The gap has come down to half a second. To be honest, you don't need the gap to know where these two in regards to position. They're right in your picture. They're coming up to back markers now, so I wonder if Iris may take the decision to come in and get his pit stop done. Seven-tenths of a second is the gap between the leaders. Oh, and Kaketsu running wide there onto the curve. That won't help. Pace in third. 6.5 seconds behind Kaketsu. Arming coming into the pits. And that will move Jazz and Dave back up the order a little bit. So Jazz in 10th. Dave quite a bit behind. 5 seconds behind his rival in 11th. He's got Popcorn closing him down all the time. That's just a glitch there, so don't worry about that. That's just Popcorn moving out of the way of the leaders. Pace is in. Pace is in the pits now from third place. Dante goes past him, as will Skite. And I doubt that Jazz will get in front of him, to be honest with you. Too far behind, so Pace should come out in front of Defiance. So Sunday goes through. So it's Fireblade putting a lap there on the Aston Martin. As Pace comes out of the pits, that was a very quick pit stop actually from Pace. And he's got out behind McSunday. He's behind the leaders by the looks of it. No, he's not. In fact, Kaketsu, is he in front of Iris? He was, and Iris got back ahead of him again. So these two must have swapped positions at some point during the second sector, or third sector. And it looks like Kaketsu's taking back the lead in. Now, has Iris got a problem? He's going very slowly. He's allowed... What's this? Iris has stopped. Is he out of fuel? No, he's kept going. I'm not sure what's happened here. Well, he's kept going. I'm not sure what that is all about. That is very, very strange. So Dunsey third, Sky's in fourth now. But Sunny holding firm there in fifth. He's still yet to make his stop. Fireblade in sixth. Pace is behind him in seventh. It's a long way ahead of Defiant and Jazz, so Pace will be very much in the running for victory, I should think. He's getting held up behind traffic now, and there are blue flags being waved, so there's the 51 of Armian, who is yet to stop. He's got to get out of the way and let him through, but it's not quite doing that. He's coming into the pits anyway. So Armian comes in. So Kiketso leads. Iris is in second. And one suggestion could be for Iris's temporary stop was that maybe he hit the ignition by mistake. That could well be the case, but it's a very costly error, and it's lost him 10 seconds to Kiketso. So Dunsey, temporary third at the moment. Got Sunday in fifth. It's Fireblade and Pace. So Jazz is in 9th and Dave in 10th. As it stands, Jazz will be crowned champion. Dave is close in a little bit though, 3.4 seconds behind his rival. Jazz is coming up behind Defiant now, who is yet to stop. There's Dave, nearly losing it on the exit of the field of chicane. He's had trouble there throughout this race, if I'm honest with you. As you can see, the leaders getting past back markers. And Pace has got through finally on Fireblade, so he's got track position to himself now. Can he be in the running for victory after the leaders have made their stops? 18 minutes to go. And we're looking at the moment what will probably be a 29 lap race, maybe 30. You can see Kiketso almost coming up to lap Dave by the looks of it. Dave has got the gap down between himself and Jazz to 2.3 seconds. Dave pushing as hard as he can, coming out of Ravatsa. And I think Iris's problem is going to allow Pace to pass him for second place once the Bentley driver has completed his stop. Probably be too far behind Kiketso, but you never know. Been a fantastic performance by Kiketso this evening. He's been involved in the championship more often this season. He's probably been in the running for the title. So he's doing a really good job at the road. He's had a good race tonight. And McStanley into the pit lane now for Ferrari. With his championship hopes all but gone. If he can maybe finish in front of Jazz and Dave in this race, that'll be some consolation for him. As Jazz tries to get past Defiant for 8th place on track. Will he do it into the Variante Alta? To the inside he goes. Defiant sees him in time, and Jazz goes through, no problem. Dave isn't too far behind, so he'll want to get on with this very quickly as Mitsundy completes his stop now, so he should rejoin ahead of Jazz. Now what about Dave? Will he get past the Aston Martin? Mitsundy behind Fireblade now. So Sunday rejoins in P7 ahead of Jazz and Dave. Now Dave needs to get past Defiant here now. He's almost a lap down on the leaders. Now does Dave go for it into the field of chicane? Not so there. Tosa's way, he'll need to get the move done, I should think, but he's probably too far back to do it from there, unless he wants to go for it now, which he does! Keep it clean, Dave. Don't want any contact now. They don't make contact through Tosa, but Dave has got a good run on him on the exit of the hairpin. He'll pull alongside or he'll get the move done before the Piratella. So Dave gets through wheel to wheel there with the Aston Martin, but Dave's got past. So Dave is through and now can go after Jazz again. Now the championship contenders 7th, 8th and 9th. Sunday just get past the Aston Martin of what looks like Ram. Ram staying out of the way, not causing any interference with what's going on ahead of him. Now Kiketso, who's about to lap Defiant. Defiant, who is yet to stop in this race. There's 14 minutes to go. Now, what will Kiketso decide to do here? I'm staying out for now. It's fair play. So Kiketso pulling to the outside to find off the racing line to allow the leader through. Kiketso did lose a little bit of time at the end of the previous lap. There's Iris in second, Dancy third. Skyte's dropped back from him now, so he's got a lot of ground to make up still. I'm looking at pace at the moment. How far is he behind the leader? Well, I can't see how far he's behind the leader, but I would imagine somewhere as Skyte comes in. So Skyte pits in from 4th. Should get out in front of McSandy. There's Jazz and Dave come nose to tail again. And I'm just thinking about when everyone's pitted. Well, Fireblade's still got to pit, so that'll move McSandy, Jazz and Dave up a position each. Sky, who is in the pits, can't see him losing a position unless he's picked up damage from earlier on. And McSandy's coming through Ravatson now, so I'm not actually sure that Sky's going to actually keep hold of 5th position. Well, Pace has already gone past him now. So McSandy comes through. Does he get in front? No, he doesn't, I don't think. I think Skyte will stay ahead of him. So Skyte stays in front of McSandy, but only just. McSandy's tyres will have got up to temperature. Skyte's will have only just be starting, so this is McSandy's golden opportunity to make up a position. As Fireblade enters the pits, and will drop down the order as a result. Sky looks to they've gone a little bit too deep there into Tosa, but still keeps hold of 4th place. There are the leaders from Kiketso trying to get past the back markers. That's Jazz, who's dropped behind Dave now. So Jazz has lost the position to Dave. I don't know what that happened whilst he was being lapped, but Dave is now in front of Jazz in this one. So Dave is now in 7th place. Jazz is in 8th. Now 7th place would net 22 points for Dave. And it's 18 points for Jazz. So as it stands, that would not be enough for Dave to take the title. He would need Jazz to fall back another position, or Dave needs to make up another place. And then at the moment, he's run about 10 seconds behind McSandy. So here we go. This is Jazz looking to fight back with just over 10 minutes remaining in the last race of the season. Ketso starts lap 24 as Iris comes into the pits from second place, as does Defiance, which means only 2 drivers yet to pit. We want to go back to the battle for P7 as Dave holds up Jazz. He may not do, but we'll see. So Iris has done his stop now. Pace is coming through. I think Pace is going to stay behind Iris. So Iris exits the pits now, and Pace does not get in front of him. So Iris rejoins effectively in second place. Very lucky actually, because of that ignition problem by the looks of it when he stops at Ravazza corner. I think Danzi's only hope is a 4th place finish in this. As Sunday staying in touch with Skype. Dave still enough. Jazz doing enough for the championship as we speak. Now an 8th place finish would net Jazz 18 points, which would not see him improve his score. So he would stay on 404. Dave, as it stands, would net 22 points. We'd see a drop score of 7, so he'd only collect 15 points in regards to the championship. So 397 would be on, so Jazz would take the championship by 7 points. As Danzi comes in from second position. So is this going to be a quick splash and dash, with there being only, I'd say, 5 laps to go in this race now? All 15 drivers still running in this race. So Pace will go past. I think Pace has got in front of Iris actually. So Pace, on the warmer tyres, has got past Iris. I think Danzi's exited the pit lane in second position now, is it? Or is he just exiting now? No, he's just exiting now actually, is Danzi. He's just done his stop. So he'll rejoin in 4th ahead of Skites and McSunday, leaving Dave and Jazz to play catch up. Now the next man behind Jazz is Popcorn, who's another 17 seconds adrift. So Jazz can just take it easy at the moment. Dave is 10 seconds behind McSunday. And Kiketso is in for his mandatory pit stop with 7 minutes to go, just under that. He'll rejoin in the lead, no problem. Unless something goes wrong with his pit stop. So he comes in at the end of lap 25. There will be 4 more laps for him to do, I think. So it'll be a 29 lap event. And you can see Pace getting held up there by the back marker. Defiant needs to stay out of the way, and they make contact with each other. That was idiotic driving there by... Was it Defiant? It was in the way it was. That was really silly driving. He should have let him through there before they got into Ravazza corner. I have to say, that was really ill-considered by Defiant. He knew he should have let the leaders through there, and that's allowed Iris to close back in on Pace again. So Pace is in P2 now, Iris in 3rd. Dancy a long way back in 4th position, but Defiant should have known that Pace and Iris were coming through there. He knew he wasn't racing with them. I don't understand why he needed to hold them up there. But now the battle for second place is on. So we've got 5 minutes to go. Keketso remaining in the lead as he exits Acquaminaroli. He's 8.5 seconds clear of Pace, which is a controlling margin to manage between now and the checkered flag. There'll be 3 laps to go once he crosses over the start-finish line. So Sky holding on to 5th ahead of McSundy. McSundy, well, he has to pray for a miracle now, hasn't he? Dave is pulling away from Jazz. Yeah, he needs to gain another position at the moment, does Dave. He has to win this championship, but at the moment it's not quite going his way. Popcorn 9th. He was the first driver to come in for a pit stop in this one. He's managed to complete an undercut on Various. But that's as good as it's been for him in this. And now Iris is closing back in on Pace in the fight for P2. .2 seconds is the gap between Keketso in the lead and Pace in second place. Next Sunday, holding on to 5th ahead of Sky. I think he's got in front of him now actually, so next Sunday through ahead of the Jaguar. Now that may give... Oh, Sky's off the track. So Sky's gone off at Tamburello, rejoins. That may give Dave a little bit of hope. With 3 minutes to go, I think Dave is going to run out of time, but we'll see. And Sky continuing to run wide, so that could be Dave's last bit of hope if he was to snatch the title from Jazz's nose now. So, the race leader, Keketso, 2 laps away from victory. As for Jazz, well, he's got 2 laps and a bit from Championship Glory. Has Dave gone off somewhere? I think Jazz has made a mistake, actually, or something, but he's dropped back from Dave somehow. He's probably just keeping his nose out of trouble, to be honest with you. He's got a big margin over Popcorn. Jazz can afford to take it easy in the last couple of laps of this race. And this is Pace. Now, this is going to be interesting. Now, does the back marker there, that is another one of the Aston Martins who nearly takes the top 2 out. This is Iris on the inside. Pace needs to give him the space and does so. So Iris is through, back into second place. Pace will be furious with the back marker there. I couldn't quite tell who that was. Was that Armian who held him up? It was Armian. So there may be a question afterwards about the back markers refusing to get out of the way of the leaders. So there may be a knuckle sandwich afterwards from Pace with Armian, because that had just cost him second place effectively. He will be aggrieved with that. So Dancy running in 4th. Keketso, who's now increased the gap. It's nearly 10 seconds over Iris in second place now. He'll be relieved to be back there. And the race leader is on his final lap. And there's Dave. And it seems that McSundy's made a mistake somewhere, which explains why Sky's got back through ahead of him. So Dave could well be 1 position away from clinching the championship at the moment. 1.6 seconds is the gap between him and McSundy. So if Dave was to pass McSundy, that's another 4 points coming his way. So which will move him on to 401 points, I think it would be, which would not be enough for him to take the championship. So we'd have to pass 2 more cars, I think, for Dave to win the championship. So even if he was to pass McSundy, it's an overflow. In fact, he's already got past McSundy. So Dave has got through ahead of him. He's up into 6th place. McSundy drops down to 7th. He'll just want to bring his car in. In fact, he's bringing the car in. He's had enough. So McSundy retires from the race a lap from the end. But here's your race leader. It's Kiketso, who's about to complete his final lap and take what's been a well-deserved victory for him. Put the car on pole. Iris getting the jump in at the start, and then a mistake from Iris with the ignition or something dropped him back. Absolutely commanding once he took the lead back. So coming out of Rivazza for the last time, Kiketso in the Aston Martin, coming through to win the last race of the season in the console category of the Logistical Nightmare. Kiketso wins at Imola. Fantastic job from him. Really, really well done. Here is Iris, who's going to come home in 2nd place. And it's going to be Pace on the podium in 3rd. He's made a mistake on the last lap somewhere. And Dancy will be next behind in 4th. And it'll be Skites in 5th place. So Dancy 4th. Skites will hold off Dave. So Skite coming through Rivazza in 5th place. There is Dave in 6th. Jazz is in P7. We'll stay with him because he is the man who's about to come through and claim the championship in style. Sky comes home 5th, Dave's 6th, but here's your man, Jazz, in the Ferrari, crosses this season's Logistical Nightmare champion. Brilliant job from Jazz throughout the season. It hasn't been a good race for him tonight, but he has done enough. And waves to Dave and thanks him for challenging him all the way through. Various Guide comes home in 8th, just holding off Popcorn actually. I think he's got in front of Popcorn. So Various Guy in 8th, Popcorn 9th, Fireblade 10th, Defiant will be 11th, followed by Gary, McSundy, Ram and Armian, the rest of the finishers. So Kiketso is your race winner, but it's Jazz who is crowned the champion of the console category in Logistical Nightmare. Very, very well done to him. Dave finishes 2nd in the championship with McSundy 3rd. What a race. Really, really good race. I really enjoyed that. It's been a good season as well. And congratulations to Jazz on clinching the championship. And well done to Dave and McSundy for challenging him all the way through. And on that note, it's been a pleasure for me commentating in the Logistical Nightmare, as I will be starting a new job next month. I won't announce what it will be until closer to the time. But in the meantime, my commentary with Logistical Nightmare is going to come to an end this evening. Thank you very much for joining us. It's been fantastic for me being on board. Do make sure you like and subscribe so you don't miss any racing within this league. And whoever takes my place, I do wish that person the very best of luck for the next season and beyond. Thank you to everyone, and I'll speak to you again soon. So all of those within Logistical Nightmare, it's goodbye.